Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking exactly how a tight-knit community, one that was honestly just obsessed with extreme praying, somehow descended into absolute madness and deadly mass hysteria. We're looking at the Salem witch trials of 1692. It's a fascinating, tragic, and frankly bizarre chapter of history. We're going to break down the pressure cooker environment that created this powder keg, the totally absurd mechanics of the trials themselves, and how the whole thing finally came crashing down.
So, how do you get from a quiet, deeply religious village to a society that's literally executing its own neighbors? Well, to really understand how the Salem witch trials happened, we first have to look at the incredibly harsh and honestly incredibly mundane reality of colonial Massachusetts in 1692. It took a very specific, volatile recipe of environmental pressures, technological limits, and deep-seated fears to spark a disaster of this magnitude.
Section 1. The boredom of 1692. Let's set the stage.
Just try to imagine the world of 1692. Your absolute peak modern technology, the butter churn, the height of fashion, buckled shoes, and your main activity day in and day out is just an extreme amount of praying. But beyond all that, the environment was genuinely brutal. We're talking about a long, grueling winter where people had absolutely nothing to do but stare at the dirt. Now, combine that profound boredom with incredibly high stress levels. Salem was rife with town gossip, everyone constantly talking behind each other's backs, and there was this constant looming worry of attacks from Native Americans. So life in 1692 was this incredibly stressful mix of grueling winters, constant rumors, and absolute mind-numbing boredom. Basically, the people of Salem really, really hated having nothing to do.
Section 2. The hysteria begins. All it took was a bizarre little spark.
And that spark came when a few young girls, specifically Betty Parris and Abigail Williams, started exhibiting some pretty strange behavior. They began having these fits, screaming uncontrollably, and throwing things around the room. Now, in any normal circumstance today, you might look at this and think, okay, kids are just acting out. But the town doctor looked at these girls and instead of suggesting, maybe they just needed a hobby to cure their winter boredom, he made a completely catastrophic medical diagnosis. He decided it was absolutely definitely the work of the devil.
At this point, the town reached a crucial fork in the road, right? They totally could have handled things rationally, maybe just found these kids something productive to do. But instead, they chose chaos. They leaned right in and decided to blame the devil. And let me tell you, that quickly became a very convenient excuse to just air out every single petty grievance and ancient grudge in town.
Section 3. Proving a witch. How this became an inescapable trap. The villagers quickly weaponized this hysteria, and the sheer absurdity of the accusations was just staggering. It was literally like, hey, my neighbor looked at my cow funny and now the cow is sad, so she's a witch. I mean, they took these ridiculous complaints directly to their local leaders, and honestly, the terrifying part, the leaders were all for it. They responded by sending out a massive list of impossible demands for the accused to somehow prove their innocence. And when the accused inevitably couldn't meet those completely wild demands, they were thrown straight into jail. The whole legal framework they used in court was this concept called spectral evidence. By definition, this was legal proof where only the afflicted person could actually see a demonic spirit. Just imagine a girl screaming in the middle of court that she sees a big, sexy purple cat sitting on your shoulder. You, the accused, would obviously be standing there arguing, but there's no cat there. And the judges would just simply reply, well, only the afflicted can see the ghost cat, so good job, you're a witch. The court relied completely on this impossible loop logic. Basically, if an accuser claimed to see a ghost that you couldn't see, you were automatically guilty. No way out. And alongside spectral evidence, they used these technical deep dives to prove witchcraft. And they were just a muddy, wet mess. Take the notorious swimming test, for example. Step 1, tie the accused up and throw them straight into a pond. Step 2, if you float, well, the water's obviously rejecting your evil spirit, which means you're a witch and you get executed. But step 3, if you sink and drown, hey, congratulations, you're innocent. It's wild. They essentially created this dark, wet, no-win situation that resulted in a tragic nope for the victim every single time. You either died a witch or you died innocent. Section 4. The madness finally ends. What happens when you aim a bit too high? The real turning point arrived when the governor's own wife was accused of witchcraft. Up until this point, the victims were largely everyday townspeople, local outcasts, or just neighbors involved in petty feuds. But the second those accusations reached the absolute highest level of colonial leadership, the governor finally had a wake-up call. He looked around and basically realized, actually, hold on a minute, this is getting completely out of hand.
So action was finally taken. The governor stepped in to put a definitive end to this whole propaganda extravaganza. He completely dissolved the special court. You know, the one that had relied on invisible ghost cats and sad cows to literally condemn people to death. And that effectively halted the trials right in their tracks. Just like that, the core mechanism of the hysteria was officially broken.
However, this intervention came at a remarkably steep cost. 20. That is the number of people who had already been executed by the time the governor finally shut down those courts. The intervention came far, far too late for those 20 innocent individuals who lost their lives to nothing more than a community's boredom, extreme stress, and wild paranoia. In the bitter aftermath, the town of Salem was left to grapple with immense, truly indescribable suffering. I mean, they had to look at each other every day knowing full well they had actively participated in the deaths of their own neighbors. They were essentially locked in this permanent stalemate of deep embarrassment. Their reputation was forever stained by the simple fact that they let petty gossip and unchecked mass hysteria completely ruin their community. Which leaves us with one ultimate question, right? After all that indescribable suffering, after burying their own neighbors, did the people of Salem, and by extension, did we, actually learn our lesson? The historical record of 1692 shows us exactly how easily fear, a total lack of evidence, and toxic groupthink can completely override human logic. So have we truly inoculated ourselves against the dangers of mass hysteria today? Or are we just waiting around for our own modern version of a purple ghost cat? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the evidence, always think critically, and I'll catch you in the next one.